Okay. So like I was saying, guys, good evening. And yeah, this week we're basically going to be finishing up the principles of design. So we are going to be kind of closing that loop. And that is going to be due this evening. Last week, we were basically saying that we were going to give you some time this evening, possibly like the first hour of class, or at least another hour of class to kind of work on your slides for the total of 10 to be completed, to which then after that, we are basically uploading the slides onto Canvas, okay? So I think we're gonna split it up so that half the class time is gonna be dedicated towards giving you guys time to write about it, and then we'll be shifting over and then going that format. Or we could go the other way, where we can basically discuss the tools, Adobe Illustrator tools first, and then have remaining class work on the tools. The other half of the class is going to be working on the write-ups, and then basically we'll do like a check-in closer to about, I'd say maybe like 9 o'clock-ish, just to see how things were going, and we can go that direction too. So I'm feeling that we could possibly go with tools, Adobe Illustrator tools for right now, and then we split up in those, and then for folks that are already done, they can basically move on to the Illustrator tools exercise, where we're naming all the parts and all the tools. And then the other half of the class will be working on their write-ups / catching up with the tools. I think that'll work pretty well this evening. So that way those folks that are done don't have to wait another hour, and they can start using the time this evening to build up some of the toolbar exercises. So if that works, you can give me a little thumbs up. I think that will probably work a little bit better. So we're not pushing back time any more than we need to. We've already put in about a good almost 2 weeks on principles of design. So we're done. And so we're pretty much moving on and going to be building it up. Okay. So so now we get to talk about the technical tools and then go in that direction. All right. That also means that we might also have some technical issues. I super hope that you guys opened the program and tested it and launched it, because now you're going to have to use it, at least to use the toolbar portion of it. So that's the hope. We'll see. And I don't think we'll anticipate any issues moving forward. So very cool. Okay, so tools sound good, and then we'll go in that direction. All right, so let's jump in, guys. When it comes to Adobe Illustrator, I've always gotten some comments from folks where it's like, we should start sooner, we should do this, we should do that. We still accomplish a lot. I think theory is important. Principles of design, I hope that you guys feel like you can see designs a little bit more clearly, or can deconstruct designs a little bit more effectively, because I think that is a super great skill set to have, is to be able to deconstruct, see your designs, and build up from there. So I think that was really helpful. And then just basically moving forward, we'll do more principles of design exercises in the beginning part of class, like together and deconstructing and building up, just to kind of keep that skill going. But you always want to make sure that you're doing that regularly, as sort of like just a sort of almost second nature in a way, where you feel really comfortable looking at a graphic, deconstructing it in like, seconds, and then being able to say, oh, okay, I appreciate it. Now I have something for like the future if I want to use a project. Or you can have a project, look at a ton of graphics, get inspired, and then use your principles of design to deconstruct it. So there's a couple of ways you can go about doing that. I've done it both ways, and either approach is fine. That's just a last word on principles of design. It's always good to just kind of keep that going and practicing, and just looking at things and just asking yourself, what's the focal point? What's the contrast? What's the balance? Is it symmetrical, asymmetrical? Is there contrasting color sizes and shapes? It's a for life thing. Okay. And if you want to pursue this as a career or as a side hustle, you definitely want to keep in that state of inspiration all the time, so that you're not, quote, dry on ideas when you need it the most. Does that make sense? So it's always good to just constantly go to art shows, take a look at websites on designs, be curious regularly on design, graphics, photography, everything across the board. The more curious you are when it comes to the art and the work, the better you'll be, the less you feel like you have no ideas, quote unquote. Okay. And now that everything's opening up for the pandemic, this is a great way to kind of kickstart your creativity and start going to openings, shows, online forums, conversations. Adobe Max is great. We now have, more options online and in person. So there's more options more than ever before to create stuff, which is really cool. So just last 2 cents there. Okay. All right. So let's talk about Adobe Illustrator, guys. It's really exciting on the program. And we're finally moving forward as a class. And basically tonight, the end result or the goal is going to be to create like a toolbar, or basically I'm going to give you an exercise on Canvas that's going to showcase the toolbar in Adobe Illustrator. So you're going to be naming the parts of the tools, at least for this first half of class, and identifying and just getting familiar with them, right? We need a common vocabulary. And so we need to know or be somewhat familiar where the tools are located, and also know where they are. Because you're going to find out that there's tools, and then there's something called sub-tools, which are tools within tools inside the program. And so there's a lot to learn within that. So that's going to be our first exercise, knowing the tools, labeling those parts. And I'll be giving you guys a Google slide to label, okay? And we'll walk through that momentarily. So it's basically vocabulary and getting familiar with the tools today, okay? A couple of things though, I do want to mention just about the program in general. When it comes to just, Adobe Illustrator, there's a lot of cool things about the program. It is the industry standard, I'll say that, when it comes to vector graphics, right? It lets you create complex illustrations for really any medium. And it does a lot of things across the board. I mean, we're talking about typography, font design, posters, websites. It's across the board. Flyers, logos, you name it. It's one of the best tools that's out there. A lot of people like Photoshop, but Photoshop is different, right? It's different because you're manipulating pixels, where this program is a little bit closer to actually drawing, right? Drawing digitally, right? And then the program will take those drawings and turn them into vector lines, or vector graphics as we call it. So it's a great way to express yourself. And even with the creation of with the iPad and the tablets getting faster and faster and cheaper, the traditional way of drawing in Illustrator, which was what I use, a mouse, those lines are getting blurred, right? So now we have tablets, Apple Pencils, the iPad minis, iPad Pros, iPad 9th generations. I was just talking to a friend of mine who's an illustrator, who is already asking me questions about being, what can I do to, what iPad is the best one to do my vector graphics? And basically the answer is like, it depends on what kind of graphics you want to create, right? So do I get an iPad Pro, which is like $1,000, or do I go for an iPad 9th generation, which is like, $329? I think for starting out, they're all good options, depending for beginners, right? So some interesting things on that. So if you do decide to get an iPad Pro, or get an iPad, or just any type of tablet for this program, it does support it, and you can create it, which is nice. So you'll be able to kind of make that connection with drawings and on your tablet, which never happened before, at least when I was getting trained with this stuff. It was very expensive to do something like that. Now it's pretty affordable to get in. What can you create with this program? You can create lots of things. Logos, like I just said, icons, which are simple elements and illustrations, typically used for like mobile phones and the little top bar of your browser. Yeah, exactly, James. Illustrator is vector, Photoshop is rasterized. Drawings, like I was mentioning, typography, which is the creation of letters, letter form, fonts, posters, you name it. Even when you use your Google Maps or Apple Maps or any map on your cell phone, those graphics are vector graphics, right? And so those are used to create it. And that's by design, because the file sizes when it comes to programs on Adobe Illustrator, they're so small and so convenient for something like a mobile device that that you can zoom in and see them really large, really small, and you don't lose the quality of your image. So next time you open up your map, pause, take a look, and you'll see that those are vector graphics that are consisting of it. Of course, satellite mode is photos, but those drawings, those are Illustrator graphics. So if you can imagine who had to draw the first version of those maps is insane. That's a lot of drawing in the program, right? And Illustrator does make illustration easier because you can take something as simple as a black and white image and add color, add shapes, add additional elements to it. Like I said, via your desktop computer, laptop, or your tablet, which is really nice to have. And vector paths are sort of where we're going to live for the next couple of weeks, and then even in future projects, because they're really anchor points. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But basically, when you look at any image on your in Illustrator, those lines are basically what we call vector graphics. And vector is just a fancy word for basically, 2 points connecting the dots, right? Kind of like connect the dots when you were a kid. That line between the two dots, that line is basically called a vector. So line, vector, they're kind of one and the same essentially. And like I was saying, when it comes to vector graphics, they're really great because you can go bigger, go smaller, and not lose image quality. So that's really cool. You can create images like cubes. You can trace things like photos as well, which is really nice. So for those folks that want to take photographs and turn them into drawings, you can definitely do that in this program. You can let the program do it. You can use your pen tool for that. And you can even render, if it's done properly, drawings as photos. So this is a vector graphic, right? So the image on the right looks very, very photographic, photo-like, but it is done using Adobe Illustrator. So you can basically do photo quality graphics using Illustrator. And the people that do this for a living they have a lot of talent, I'll say that. So the image on the left, right, Katy Perry, looks like a photograph of her, but on the right, that's the wire frame or the mesh, the wire mesh that creates it. So when done right, it's very powerful. And in this situation, people would say probably easier to take a photo, right? Because this will take hours and hours to create. So it's a pretty amazing program. Okay. When you open your program or launch it, it hasn't changed much in the last few years, except it's been a few additional features here and there. But the primary architecture of the interface is roughly the same. At the top, you have your application bar. You have your menu bar, not far below that. And I'll even use my arrows there to kind of set you up. You have your artboard located towards the center here, and collapsible panels to the right-hand side, right? Which has always been the case in this program. And then tonight we'll definitely live in this world of the toolbar. So on the left-hand side, the toolbar is definitely going to be our best friend, and we're going to kind of zoom in on that section. But really, if you just think about how the program sort of operates, I kind of think of it in three sections in a way. I kind of look at it as I have my sort of top area over here, which is like my menu, application bar, my horizontal controls. I like to kind of think of it in my head. Then we have sort of our toolbar, which is obviously in this section right here in blue. And so the toolbar will be a place that we always work off regularly. And then we even have the panels here on the right-hand side. And so panels give us that additional information. when you're operating the program. So I kind of like to think of it as sort of like 3 sets of areas for my tools. And then of course, right in the center is going to be your program. And so everything happens within the artboard there in the middle, right? And so it all works there, okay? Shows up in different formats. If you have like a tablet, then it's a little bit different on the tablet, but it's roughly the same, give or take here and there. Not too much when it comes to like learning how to apply it. So those are the 3 areas that I kind of like to think about it in a nutshell. And when it comes to just different layouts, we'll look at things a little bit later, like workspace switchers, which is the program can go between different tools according to different types of projects you're working on. So it can quickly switch between all different types of tools, which is kind of nice, a nice feature to have. The menu bar gives us, of course, additional functionalities within that, so it doesn't overwhelm us with info. So we'll see that in the coming weeks as we're working within the program. And then the toolbar, which I think is probably one of the most important areas to focus on in this program, is because that's your toolbar. That's pretty much all the tools that you'll be able to work with in this program. So the toolbar is essentially your best friend, right? And I like to always concentrate on a certain types of tools more so than not. So we'll be looking at that a little bit in the class, but we'll be definitely zoning in this area here and kind of getting really familiar with it. And that's what this exercise is going to be. It's knowing the tools, okay? And so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to launch this exercise onto Canvas in just a few seconds. And you'll be able to retrieve and get a copy of it. But basically what you're going to do is that you're going to see a Google slide. You're going to have you make a copy of that, or I'll kind of push it so that you can make a copy as soon as you click onto it. And when you open it up, it'll basically show you a board or toolbar on your slides. So we'll see that momentarily, and we'll name each of those tools, okay? So before we do that, I'll have you guys actually launch your Illustrator programs just to make sure that you can launch them. So if you have that, go ahead and open that up. That would be great, because you're going to be launching them this evening. And if you have it on a Mac, you can see the Illustrator launcher on the top. Kind of looks like a little figure 8 sideways or infinity sign. So if you click onto that and then look for Adobe Illustrator, you can see that. Or if you have a Mac computer, it may potentially be on your dock. But we're going to launch that program and give it a couple of seconds to open, okay? So that's how we're gonna set it up there, okay? And yeah, and if performances or issues, we're gonna see how this car runs on your computers, which is why I was hoping that we could test it beforehand. So we'll know how these computers operate as you're launching them, okay? Go ahead and launch that. And as you're launching that, I'm gonna jump over to my Canvas system, and then we're gonna launch the exercise so that you can take a look at it, okay? So let's go ahead and set that up. And then I'm gonna switch over to Canvas so that we can get you rocking and rolling. All right, so. All right, so just launched it on Canvas. Go ahead and switch over to student view so we can see it. I'm also going to change the dates here too, because for some reason it's still giving us these due dates from the previous semester. So let me take one quick second to change that as well. Okay, almost there. I want to also switch the discussion feed as well. This says March 18th, so we want to be able to also give you guys access to it. So I'll make an edit there. Perfect. Okay, looking good. And I'll go ahead and share screen over here so we can take a look at it. Okay. So we'll start off with Canvas so that we can know where to retrieve those exercises. So okay, I'm going to switch over to student view. And week 2, we're going to close that. Here we go. So we have week 5, getting to know Adobe Illustrator over here. And don't worry about the discussion yet, guys. We will take a look at that a little bit later. But we're going to zone in and focus in right here on this exercise, which is activity. And I should change that to assignment so that way it doesn't confuse anyone. But it's going to be the Illustrator tools exercise. Okay. And when you click onto that link, it should allow you the request to make a copy. So you'll be able to make a copy of that particular file. And it'll basically need you to set up your Real Hondo Gmail to log in and make that copy. Okay. So you can go ahead and click onto that. I'm gonna rename that also to assignment, so that way we're not confusing anybody there as well. Okay, perfect. So now we have it here. Okay, and so if you successfully made a copy, you can give me a little thumbs up. Just wanted to make sure that you see that. Okay, great, awesome. And so, yeah, and so if you notice here, the objective is quite simple. The objective of this exercise is to learn the names of the tools that are used in Illustrator. So we just want to get familiar with them, okay? We want to build some familiarity with the tools. And so we want to make sure that we understand where they are, where they're located, just have an understanding of where they could be, okay, in order to set that up. And it's just great to have a common vocabulary. So, you know, we don't want to basically not know where a tool is, or if I mention something and you kind of draw a blank face. So the idea is that we just want to know where the tool is and where it's located, and basically get an understanding and a feel of how many there are, okay? When you click onto the link, it should basically automatically make you want to make a copy. So once you make that copy, you should see it on your screen. I'm going to go ahead and click on to make a copy there. And this will be our Illustrator Tools exercise as an introductory. Okay. if you're sending me the direct messages, I'll answer right back in just a couple of minutes, just to kind of get you set up. But the assignment should be available also via mobile. So if you have the Canvas app on your phone, you could technically get the Google Slides app on your mobile phone and use the share or basically use Google Slides on your mobile phone, and you can technically do this on your mobile device. So there's that option too if necessary, but you will need those two apps downloaded. So Canvas Student and the Google Slides app. Logging in with your Rio Hondo email, and then you click the link, it makes a copy, opens the app. You gotta zoom in, you can use your mobile phone to kind of piece it together and basically refer to the laptop that way. So that's another option to kind of do that. Gotta love technology, right? You do everything in your pocket. Take this, well, I don't want to say that either, but you can't really draw Illustrator in your pocket, technically. Theoretically, yes, but technically you have to do it on desktop. But it is possible too. So yeah, like I was saying, guys, the objective is clear. Now, to have a common vocabulary. Now, how you can do this a number of ways. Think of this slide, the last slide, think of it as kind of like a note card, okay? In this note card, you can organize things however which way you want. You can organize by font sizes, you can organize by squares, you can organize by changing the colors of the font or the color of the letters. You can go about it any way that you want. So definitely, take a moment to kind of design a little bit of the layout or the face of it. But the idea here is to kind of label the parts and know where all those tools are going to be located. There is a possibility, there is a likely chance that some tools may be missing on this exercise because if Adobe made a recent update, then we'll probably see some additional tool here and there. So if you notice a tool here and there missing, then you can skip that, go to the one that you know is visible on your current version, which is a Creative Cloud 2021, okay? So if you see it like, oh, this tool is not here anymore, it's okay. Just skip that older tool and then go to the next one and base it on the ones that are visible, okay? So that's just a quick little FYI. So there's a couple ways you can do this program. Basically, if you have your Adobe Illustrator program, you're gonna obviously launch the program. And when you launch it, you can refer to the tools as on your program and then kind of switch back and forth to your Google slide. So I've seen that happen a few times as well, where you can go that direction. That is totally fine if you want to go that route. Let me go ahead and get 25.4.1 version. It's interesting. I have like 3 versions. I have to like uninstall the other ones there in order for that to be the case. And so, and as I open up my program, I want to make sure that we can refer to the tools there. And making sure that it launches properly. Okay, perfect. It's popping up on my other screen. So I'm gonna bring it over here to my main screen so it doesn't block your screens. And we'll take a look at there. Beautiful. Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to share my screen over here. Okay. Now, a couple of things that I'll share as you're looking at your interface, because I know there's a lot of bells and whistles going on in front of you right now. So let me kind of revert back and just kind of walk you through some of those tools. So let's open that up. Tool there. And we'll switch over here to kind of take a look at it there. Okay, beautiful. Go back to the Keynote. Okay, perfect. So a couple things as you're looking at your tools here. As you're launching the program, I'll use my arrows here. You could right away create like a new document if you want to do that, okay? Now, just a quick word just about the interface in general, okay? When you're opening this, this menu, it's basically going to give you a couple of options. Okay. Adobe Illustrator is always trying to figure out an easy way to have you create the work that you do quickly, right? They're all about letting you get creative right away. So when you open up a new template or a new file, sometimes you'll always see this create a new file template. People use these programs for a lot of different reasons, and you can kind of see here in the red box what they use them for, right? Posters, postcards, web pages, mobile phone layouts. So mobile phone design is big on this program when designing interfaces for user experiences. When it comes to videos, creating screens or landing pages for like your videos is helpful too. And then custom sizes just for any other project is available too. You'll always have a home button also on the upper left, and then a learn button there on the upper left hand side. And the learn is cool to know where it's located, because what I like about the learn button is that it gives you some really interesting tutorials where you could practice on your own. And so I definitely want to encourage you guys, like even after this class, is that definitely get into the habit of going to that learn tab and practicing new tutorials as they're coming every year or every other year. Okay, so those are just a couple of quick tips there that you can set it up. Recents, you'll always see on the bottom. So you'll always see like these different projects that were recently done, and then you can sort them out that way as well. Okay, so really helpful. I'm trying to think also what's new too. Cloud documents. We'll talk about cloud documents a little bit later. So I'll actually switch over to my interface. That button that says cloud documents. Cloud documents is awesome because these are basically shared files. So if you're always like, can I share my file, with my colleague or with my friend or anyone outside of class? The answer is absolutely yes. You can share it. And so cloud documents is really nice because you can basically save your files as a cloud document, share it with another, share it with me via email, and I'll be able to see the progress of your work on these projects. And that's, hint, hint, going to happen. So you'll see how this kind of plays out in the weeks to come. But let's say we start a project, you're working on it, and you save the cloud document. If I just want to open up my interface and see how you're doing on your project workflow, I'll be able to see it in real time. So if I'm like, oh, I wonder, how's this student doing, or where's this project going? And I click onto it, it'll actually show me where you are in your project. So that's going to be really helpful. So if you're thinking like, oh, the professor's not going to know if I'm working on a project, think again, guys. The cloud document is going to, it's almost as if I'm sitting right next to you, watching you do that project and knowing what the status is on that project. So powerful stuff when you're working with any other person or classmates or even a client, because then they can kind of track your progress if you're willing to share it. Okay, so that's a quick word about the cloud documents there. So we'll be using that in the coming weeks too. All right, so moving forward, we're gonna basically create a new document. So I'm gonna just kind of freestyle it over here without my arrows because technically we have Zoom. So we'll just create a new document here. And when you click on to create new, you should get this new document pop up on your screen. And I'm not trying to update my file, so let me go ahead and push that out of the way. Okay, and we'll get that out there. And so what you should see is this new document window that pops up. And it's kind of similar to what we just saw a couple of seconds ago. It's the same format. On the left-hand side, you'll see all these different formats of custom sizes. I've done a lot of custom projects, so I play with a lot of custom sizes basically. So these are my recent projects I've worked on, or recent sizes of my artboard that I worked on. And then on the upper left here, you can even kind of see those templates in advance. And here's a little bonus tip here. Illustrator actually offers free templates, kind of like when you do templates for like just projects, Instagram, or templates in Google Slides. You know how Google Slides gives you templates? They do the same thing with Adobe Illustrator. So there's actually templates for things like mobile. So if, let's say you have a mobile project and you design some icons or want to create like a mobile interface or just make an app and just do the front end of the app. These templates are available for you for free, and you can download it and go in and make some modifications. That's like awesome, because this stuff used to take time and cost money to find. So that's a really nice feature to have. If I click onto web here on the top, then you'll see the same thing. There's web templates. There's desktop computers, laptops, mobile phone layouts. Like if you just want to create an interesting presentation for like a portfolio and upload it to your site, again, they're making it so easy for people to basically create these templates, print brochures, posters, flyers, really cool. Sometimes they're related to events, so Halloween. You'll get all these templates, and you can kind of deconstruct, take some pieces and set it up. I love templates. So there's like literally like over 100 plus different templates available for you for just about every project imaginable, right? Video, art and illustration, vector icons. And I typically see them change every few months too. So they do a pretty good job with trying to like keep them somewhat updated. So if you ever feel or have a little bit of time and you want to explore, take a look at the templates, because I think the templates is a really great way to also create presentations for portfolios, projects, and anything related, or even do client presentations too. So really cool stuff to kind of put that into effect. So I wanted to throw that out there so that you guys can see that. On the right-hand side of your screen, you'll basically see here the preset details. This is where the kind of the magic happens when you're creating something. And basically, if you just want to create your own custom layout and name it a unique name, then this happens on the right-hand side. If I double click onto where it says Untitled 1, I can call this anything I want. So this would be like this is where you would type in like the project name for this. You don't have to type in a project. You can just call it Untitled. That's fine. You can change your units of measurements from pixels, points to inches, feet and inches, yards, centimeters, meters. So I like to change it to inches because that's typically how we operate when it comes to print on average in the class. And you can even modify the orientation of your artboard. So if you want your artboard to be vertical, as they say, or horizontal, that would be landscape orientation. Sort of looks kind of like horizontal here. Orientation is more portrait, vertical. So it shows you icons. It's great. It's there's a really great just way to kind of do things in this program. I think there's like 3 different ways to do things in the program, which is pretty cool. You can pick any size you want. You can set up any format and hit the create button. When you open up the document, then you should be able to see the artboard, the interface, and I'm going to reset my preferences so that way we can kind of get back to default on my workspace. So Workspace Classic and Essentials. So I'm going to reset the Essentials. So you should see something that kind of looks like this on average, okay? And if the size is different, that's pretty cool too. So you should basically see this on your screen. You should be able to see your panels on the right-hand side and your toolbar on the left-hand side. So hopefully you can see that. And the toolbar looks like a single column. Did you guys notice that? It looks like one row, okay? We can switch that. We can actually change that to two columns. So what's kind of cool about this is that every template or every panel moves around. So if I go to my mouse and on the upper left-hand side, I'm going to try to use my arrow here. But on the upper left-hand side, you'll kind of see like these 2 like little arrows. They kind of look like arrowheads pointing to the right, and what looks like this sort of little gray or dark gray kind of bar next to it. If you kind of carefully take your mouse and just kind of hold the click and pull out, the toolbar follows you. okay? It's pretty sensitive, but you can move it to the center of your screen there. And when you want to switch it to double column, click onto that little sort of like arrow or double arrow pointing to the right. And as you click onto that, it'll turn a single column into a double column, okay? And vice versa, okay? Toolbars and all the panels can move around, which is really cool, okay? Now, if you successfully got your double column of toolbars, you can give me a little thumbs up emoji. I just want to see how everyone's doing with that. Okay. Perfect. Very cool. And if you have any questions, you can always like voice it in or type it in so you can move things around as such. Okay. So toolbars can move, all these panels can move around if you click and hold the click. Okay. And so they're all interchangeable, which is kind of nice. So properties can move, pretty much anything that looks kind of like a little tab or a card on top, or looks like this sort of, you know, dark gray sort of like grabbable area with a little X on the left. Those are all pretty much adjustable, movable. You can grab them, move them around. You'll get more and more comfortable as you're kind of playing with the program, okay? But what we want to concentrate on for the exercise is essentially hovering your mouse over each tool. And when you hover your mouse over each tool, you'll see a gray pop-up, sort of pop-up label appear, and it shows up for like 2 or 3 seconds. Those are the names of the tools, okay? So every time you hover over a tool and you're like, what's the name of that tool, or which one was which? All you have to do is just hover your mouse over that tool and it gives you the name. That's how you're gonna find your names, okay? So when you're identifying and you wanna know the name of the tool, just hover and just make note of what that tool is, right? Paintbrush tool, type tool, okay? Rotate tool. So these are the names of the tools that you'll be typing into your file, okay? So that's the first part, okay? And a lot of students say, oh, this is easy. I just hover over and there's like 12 IDs and I'm done. It's not quite. There's something called subtools also. So if you notice, like the direct selection tool looks kind of like a white triangle pointing upward on the right there. You kind of notice this little tiny triangle on the lower right-hand side. And I'll probably need to zoom in for that one so that you can kind of see it on my screen. So let me switch over to the Keynote so you can kind of see that a little bit more closely. So you notice how like right there on the lower right, there's this like little sort of triangle pointing to the lower right. Do you kind of see that? Okay. Some tools have it, some tools don't, right? So like selection tool does not have it, but then direct selection does. The pen tool does have it, right? But then sort of like the curve tool does not have it, right? That triangle, that little where the circle is, that's an indicator, and that indicator basically means that there's more tools inside of that. So if you click and hold the click for like 2 or 3 seconds over that little triangle, you're going to see more tools. Do you see the tools, the additional tools underneath that? Those are your subtools. You can, if you see them, give me a little thumbs up just for confirmation. Those are your subtools, okay? You have to include the names of the tools from there as well. And that's a lot of tools, right? You just went from 12 to like 40, okay? And let me switch back so you can kind of get a little bit of an understanding of that so that you can see it. That's the whole point of the exercise, okay? You do not want to show up for a project, for work, or really any class and essentially not know where the tools are. So there's additional tools underneath direct selection tool, group selection tool, lasso tool, right? So that's 2 more, right? There's an anchor point tool under pen tool. There are 4 additional tools underneath the rectangle tool, right? So you'll be including that in your Google document as well, okay? So there's a lot more, right? There's a lot more floating around here, and you want to include that, okay, as best as possible. So we'll mention that. So definitely include that. You'll also include, goodness gracious. jumps out there. You'll also include in the red box marked here, those tools as well. So you'll also include your fill tool, the stroke tool, right? Color, gradient, none, draw normal, behind. So you'll also include these as well in your Google Slides. So that way you can identify and ID those too, okay? So we're gonna ID those tools. We're gonna switch back and forth. We're gonna click, hold the button to get the name, okay? And we're basically going to organize it in our file. So as you're creating this, have some fun with it, use some color, maybe use some different sizes. But you can type in those tools, okay? And you can set it up as like subtools as well if you wish, so that's okay. Oh, let's go back over here. And basically it's simple type tool, okay? So if it's direct selection, that's gonna be group selection tool, and you can put that underneath it. If you wanna create like a sort of like a tree and kind of go horizontal, you can as well. You can basically design it however way you wish to set it up. If you like to work with colors, you can even switch the colors and maybe make like black one and your subtools would be red or blue, vice versa. That way we know what is a main tool, what is a subtool. You can do that too, okay? So definitely have some fun with it. And obviously you can even click onto your lines and do a copy and a paste, or you can even use your line tool here on the upper left and click and pull, draw a line. Click onto the type tool, draw a type text box, and you can type in your tool there as well, okay? So all these tools are available for you. This should take us a probably a good hour, I would say, but that is the first exercise. We're just gonna name those tools, okay? Is that making sense overall in terms of just what the expectation is and how we're gonna do it and creating it? Yeah, thumbs up on that. Okay, great, perfect. So we have two types of people in the class tonight. We have those folks that are finishing up Principles of Design. Please finish that up, of course. Work on that. And then once you're done, we're gonna move over to our Illustrator tools exercise and start labeling those tools, okay? And so I think I'm gonna have us check in for, let's say like an hour from now, so like 8:40. I'll do a quick little check-in to see how you're doing with the tools. But we'll be naming those tools, IDing those tools. And then if you're done, then you can totally go ahead and click onto share, and then you can basically share that link and post it onto Canvas because that's available, okay? This exercise is technically due Thursday, so we can use tonight to work on it. And then you turn it in on Thursday, okay? So we'll be doing that first. Sound good? Okay, very, very cool. If there's any questions or anything of that sort, let me go ahead and open up a one-on-one with Professor Almena breakout room. So then that way you guys can connect with me if you need to. And I'm gonna put objective up here, which is basically naming the tools for the toolbar. All right, and let me go ahead and create breakout room, and we'll get that going there. And let's set this up for 120 minutes. Perfect. Okay, great. Okay, so it's available there. So if you need to do a one-on-one, you can send me a message or you can kind of jump in. That would be great. And then I can answer those questions. All right, guys? All right, very cool. We'll stay online. I'll be online in case of any questions and things of that sort, so we can work on it. You don't have to have your camera on, of course, but we'll get you a rocking and rolling and send you up there, okay? I will send a couple of direct messages to a couple of students because I know there's a couple of us that we're gonna plan to talk. We can use tonight to kind of talk a little bit and review as well. All right, looks good, guys. All right, have some fun with it. Good luck, and we'll check in. right, guys, I'll be right back. I'm going to be in the breakout room, so I'll be return momentarily. Okay, guys, so it's 9 o'clock. We're reconnecting. I'm starting to see a few posts coming up online and of your assignments, so that's great. And then principles of design, and also your Illustrator toolbar exercise too. So what I'm going to do is, if it's almost about half the class that are still working on it, I'll give you guys obviously time to work on this. Technically, it's not really due till midnight tonight, or just before midnight. So if you want to continue working independently, you can. Please continue to do so. I just wanted to stick around just in case there was any questions regarding both exercises or assignments. So I've already received them, spoken to a couple of you, and I think we're okay for the remainder of the night for you guys to work independently. So what we'll do is, if you're still writing, please continue to do so, and you can upload well after 9:30 if necessary. Try to do the best that you can to get it done, of course. And if you've already uploaded your toolbar exercise as well, then thanks for doing that. Or if you're still working on it, please continue to do so. The toolbar won't be due until Thursday, so not tonight, Thursday. So the only thing tonight you have to worry about is the principles of design, and then the toolbar can come in on Thursday, okay? So you're set there. I also posted on Canvas one small extra credit exercise, which is on pixel art. I'll mention that on Thursday as well. It's a fun little exercise on just like how computers generate images. And then Thursday, we're basically gonna review the paintbrush tool, just to kind of give you guys a little breakdown of the paintbrush tool. And I think we'll also be beginning on the pen tool exercise as well. So we'll be ahead of the game for next week if it all works out. Okay. So we're in it. We're in Illustrator, and we're going to continue on for pretty much the rest of the semester. And so I'll be dipping into principles of design for like the beginning of class here and there for warm-ups or discussion posts. Okay. So that's going to be our game plan for the rest of the evening. So that being said, do the best you can, upload, and the discussion. Oh yeah, good question on the discussion. Discussions will make due for Thursday, Philip. So that's like a 19-minute video on the Adobe Illustrator story. It's sort of it's how the program was created. So we'll leave that for Thursday, and that should be fine too for the discussion. Okay, so you can work on that between now and then. Feel free to do so as well. Okay. All right. Very cool. All right, guys. So then I'm going to dismiss you. So have a good evening. We'll see you Thursday. Let me know if there's anything that you need, questions, issues, concerns. And if you're still writing, please continue to write. You got till later this evening. So you got plenty more time, like literally 3 more hours to work on this if you need to work into the evening. Okay. All right. All right, guys. We'll see you Thursday. Have a good night, and we'll continue then. Be safe.
So yeah,